Wow. So, you know, we've been talking about a beautiful resistance and joy, and something hit me. You know, we talk about racism, sexism, microaggressions, homophobia. I mean, you know, we deal with all of this all the time, and we protest, we march, we vote. Hopefully we're voting as a form of resistance, which we absolutely should. But what this is doing is giving people permission to do the personal work and give yourself the personal reinforcement to live and thrive and survive. And believe it or not, you know, the best of us, you know, we have the best of everything. We're educated, we're exposed, we're traveled, we have great friends, you know, but we still don't give ourselves permission to have joy. And there's a difference, I believe, and this work is really pulling this out. And I'm going to ask you, is this part of your intention, that you're actually giving people permission to do the internal work, not just focus on purpose. Purpose is important. You know, I would say in the last 5 or 6 years, every day, someone is asking, whether it's through journalism, whether it's through content, through a comedy show, do you know what your purpose is? You go to church, people ask you, do you know what God's intent for your life is? And that's great. But having joy is different, right? And it's necessary to have joy, particularly for Black folks, in order to really thrive and do the work, and even show up at those marches, and show up at the protests, and get people to go out and vote. So this is really giving people permission to do that, and it's awesome.
Thank you. That's absolutely part of the work. It's part of the mission. It's also why I'm on Instagram every day, posting everyday people sharing their beautiful resistance and their joy. To Kim's point, if you don't see it, sometimes you think you can't be it. And I think sometimes when we see the disparity and the inequity, and we are literally blanketed, we are blanketed in oppression. It haunts us every day. I can't count the number of times I'm out enjoying myself, and I love bookstores, and I was at a bookstore thumbing through a book, and someone had put in the book, it was a Black book on the Combahee River Collective, and they put in the book, "It's okay to be white." And they had like littered this in all the Black books, but it's just like, there's so much working against us to just have joy, to enjoy yourself, to have respite. So I'm like, when I see Chloe Bailey in the deep bend of her knees, like twerking on Instagram, I'm like, yes, girl, do it. Enjoy your flexibility and your happiness.
Exactly.
You know, if Obama's dancing at his party because he turned 60 in the middle of COVID, when so many of us don't have a birthday because we are losing each other, so be it. Let that man have his joy. Like, we deserve that. And these stories are essential because newspapers, you know, I'm a journalist. I'm a career journalist, and I am part of an industry that disproportionately harms our people by denying us our full representation and our full truth. And this is part of stepping forward. It's part of saying, hey, Black people, we are beautiful. You can have your joy. And it's also part of saying, hey, media, this is who we are. Don't define us by our burdens. Don't saddle us with your supremacy. See us.
Indeed. Indeed. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think, we all do it. We internalize, like, you know, pain as like a badge. You know, being strong and, you know, like a warrior is a badge. And you've got, you know, anger is the only way that you can really express passion. And that, you know, really starting to, you know, do the work to say to yourself, I can do this. It can be small things. It can be like, I'm going to take a nap instead of wash the dishes because I need to rest.
Word to nap ministry.
Nap ministry. I agree. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you. So let's pivot a little bit. So when we started talking at the top, I talked about this particular space of being able to share this. So we work for an amazing brand. Boston Globe's been around we're celebrating our 150th birthday next year. It's amazing. We've won 23 Pulitzer Prizes, a lot of things. And it's a unique platform to showcase this work. You know, we have traditional video media outlets, which we know and love. HBO, Netflix, and all those are really, really great. Let's talk about the importance of journalism as a unique delivery system for this kind of work. And then I'm going to go on and ask you another one.
Okay. Journalism is essential, period. This is how we document truth. It's how we tell story. It's how we get information out. You know, I hear, and there are a lot of journalists who argue with me, who don't like what I do, not just here, but also in my column writing, because I can be a little bit ragey. I make no apologies about that. And they'll say, oh, she's not a journalist, she's an activist. And to that I say, well, honey, journalism was created to push truth. And if that ain't activist, then what the fuck is it? Like, this is what we're supposed to do. This is the work. Our work is to tell the truth. Now, that man who sat up in office and attacked journalism and called us fake news and all this stuff, he did that to disempower the people, to make it so we don't critically think, to make it so we don't seek information and check sources. That is how you oppress a people. That is how you cause disarray. That is chaos. And journalism can be used for good, like A Beautiful Resistance, but it also has been used for bad. It has been used as propaganda to hurt Black people, to hurt poor people, to hurt immigrant people. And that is why it is important to tell truth. Even as a columnist who opines, my opine is rooted in truth. I use evidence, I use sourcing, I interview. That is how we move forward, exchanging information factually. When something, I love documentaries and I love Netflix and HBO. I am a rabid binger. It's part of my joy. But we need to have stories like this, journalistically speaking, because it's easy for white people, and not just white people, but supremacist people, racist people, and even people who are just ignorant, well-meaning people who are ignorant, to discount what they see on Netflix or HBO as entertainment. That was a good movie, but that's not real life, which is stupid. They should see it as a reflection of real life because it's absolutely valid, important work, as we saw with Summer of Soul last night. But journalism plays a role in our society to hold truth to power, to create accountability. And when you tell Black stories truthfully through a lens of love, journalistically speaking, it helps shift narratives. It helps push policy. So it is important to push journalists to do the fucking work.
Amen. And it's also important that when you're in that environment, that there's support to do that, right? You know, I just talked about the Globe is 150 years old, and we, as two women of color, would not be empowered to do this work if leadership weren't behind it. That's just real talk. I mean, those of you who work in corporate America, you know, if it's not coming from the top, they'll check the box, they'll hire you, and then they'll put you in an office. You'll be under-resourced, you will be unconnected, all of that stuff. That's not what's going on at the Globe, which is amazing. You know, I started there, I've been there just almost a year, and we talk about this all of the time, that from the inside out, it has to happen. You know, when we sit down, when I talk with my team about the vendors that we pick, when we go out and say, we have a great story to tell about ABR, we have a really great ad campaign we want to develop, we're trying to grow our audiences and reach out to different people and reach out to Black and brown people, and they come to the table and answer the RFP with an all-white executive team. I'm like, you didn't even get it. You didn't even know to, like, even ask somebody to join. I mean, it's just incredible. And people telling themselves all the time. So I have to say that, you know, this work is being done. There's a lot of other wonderful work that we're working on and that she's working on with the team, but it has to be supported from the inside out first.
I'm gonna do a thing real quick. Is Claudia in the audience? Claudia and Heidi Flood, from the earliest days of A Beautiful Resistance, this was my support system. When I didn't have a team, people think I have like this giant machine. It's not. I'm the one running the Instagram and on the Twitter and doing, I'm the one who sets up the shoots and finds the sources and the stories. And I have my amazing team of videographers. Jenee, the director, is in the audience filming you guys. As you exit today, please share your beautiful, stop him and share your beautiful resistance on camera. My life is a beautiful resistance because let him get it. Early on, like I said, I called my editor, who is a white man, and he is incredibly supportive of me, even when other people are like, Jeneé is loud and causing trouble. He's like, but she right, though. And even now, I have him saying things when people come against us. He literally will go, nah, NAH. He says it. I've taught him that. I love it. But I want to take this space when we talk about support to say, the first season of Beautiful Resistance had no sponsor. Even at the Boston Globe, we couldn't sell it. It had no sponsor. It rolled out quietly at first. And as I said, each episode is a mixtape. You get a visual episode, a written story, a Q&A, an Instagram, and a playlist. I call them weekly mixtapes. And the reception was great, but it was still something that a lot of higher-ups weren't aware of until it started being published. And this woman right here, Peggy Bird, who is an icon in the industry, started her new role at the Globe within weeks of the launch of A Beautiful Resistance, saw it and said, why are we not amplifying this? Reached out to me and has done nothing but support me. And I can't stress what it is to have a CMO, see a journalist, and say, I'm gonna lift you, baby. God's working in you, and I'm going to lift you. Thank you, Peggy Bird.
We have fun at work. But, I will say, I go back to, I'm supported as well. I work for the owners of the Globe. I've been owners for about 8 years. And when I was talking to them about taking the role, it was my first question. I'm very passionate. Part of my Beautiful Resistance, I've been in the marketing business a long time, is representing people of color fairly, whether in media or through ad campaigns. And so it's part of my passion. So any role that I take on, I ask that question. I'm like, how am I going to be able to do this? And I'll be honest, when I got the call for the Globe, I'm like, the Boston Globe? I'm not going to be able to talk to black people.
But then she met Linda Henry. And Linda Henry loves us.
Linda Henry, Linda and John Henry, our owners, they are legitimately vested in this work. Right, and not just from a business perspective, but they're just, that's who they are. And you need that. And that was a huge reason, 90% of the reason why I said yes, because we are supported. And when I say supported, it's not like just, let's go to the vineyard and do this. It's like we are resourced. We have support. We have ideas we can't even keep up with because we're going to be doing a lot of things, just reaching out to the community. So,
it's a turning point. We weren't always perfect, but we are definitely moving forward.
Yes. And that's part of, and this is, as I said, we're celebrating our birthday next year, 150 years, and we haven't done a lot of things right. We've reported on some really horrific things poorly in the past around racism, and part of our celebration of 150 years is reconciling that, right? And that's why the difference of telling these stories through a journalistic lens is that's what you have to do. You've got to get raw and tell the truth and own what you've done so that you can move forward. So really, really excited about that. So thank you.
Thank you.
So, I want to thank you for your authenticity and your courage and your vulnerability and your loud mouth in meetings. And I'm like, we'll be in meetings. I'm like, oh my God, here she goes. I was sit back and let her go. But she always tells the truth and inspires people. Your life is a beautiful resistance. It really is. And so I'm honored to work with you.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
Did you tell them about telling their stories? Did you tell them about telling their stories to Jenee?
Oh, yes. Please tell your story to Jenee. Share your beautiful resistance on the way out. Go to bostonglobe.com/A Beautiful Resistance. Go to Instagram @A Beautiful Resistance. And, you know, for my birthday, I ask that you own your Black joy. And if you're not Black, own your joy and lift the joy of Black people. And tune in to season 2 of A Beautiful Resistance. Kim Janey episode this is the first time anyone's seeing it. It's a sneak peek at what's to come for season 2, which will debut this fall. I'm very excited because I introduced you to Jeneé, and before I let you all go, I just have to tell you, to her point about resources, first season, it was me and a videographer I adore, a young white woman, incredibly talented, and I was heavy on the edits, heavy on helping direct and just steering the ship. And this year I asked for resources to hire a Black, local Boston visual storyteller to align with, because I think it's very important that media institutions work with the people of the community. And as I started interviewing people like Jeneé and Kat and Damien, it occurred to me, I could take this one salary and make it 3, because I have 6 to 7 episodes, and I could just take their rate, give them each 2 episodes, and then 3 people get paid. 3 Black people from the city get to tell a story, and we get to do the lift as we climb work that we're supposed to do. So just lift as you climb as you leave. Take your joy. I love my Blackness and yours. Say hi to Jeneé.
Any thoughts about sharing what's coming up in season 2 after?
Season 2, season 1, which you can go back and see all the episodes. If you're not a subscriber, $1 for 6 months. But also, I know how we do, so all episodes are on IGTV for free, free 99, no excuse not to watch. First season was very much about place and space. It was very much about owning your place, taking your space. Season 2 is very much about your dreams and your legacy. It's very much about what it means to have big dreams, what it means to walk in your purpose and do that joyfully. And I'm super excited, and I hope that it's something that inspires our viewers and our readers to take that with them in their daily life. Because yes, we have a long way to go. We ain't even halfway to where we need to be on the equity train. But also, we deserve party and love and laughter and poetry and dance. We deserve all of the things, and we deserve to dream. So that is going to be the message of season 2. Thanks for joining us.
We have time for questions. We have time for some questions. Anybody have any questions for Jeneé? No?
I'm just curious, where did you get that last name?
Osterheldt? It means hero from the East. It's German, but my mother's parents were Jewish, so it's a Jewish-German last name.
Congratulations on 150 years. And the question is about whether the city of Boston has embraced you as much as you have embraced the Boston Globe.
Me personally?
Both.
So, yes and no. Boston is a beautiful place. It's a cold place, and not just cold in temperature. It's a cold place. The segregation is segregated. But it's also a very Black place. It's a quarter Black. It's predominantly people of color. It's actually not a white city. Mm-hmm. It's just a city that's happy to push a parochial story. There's definitely people who hate me and want me dead, literally. But I will say the community loves me. And as my good friend Jeneé always says, people might get me fucked up, but God got me first. So I just continue to walk in my purpose, and I love our Blackness, and I see that Black people love me too. They say I'm one of the most influential Bostonians. Don't believe the hype. There are way more influential Black people. I just have to introduce them to the white person who made the list.
And I would say for me, yeah, I feel welcomed, and I think, it's all about your approach, and what our intentions are. We're not there. I'm not there as a new CMO to, beat the globe over people's heads and say we're good. I mean, the quality of the journalism leads the charge, and it's my job to make sure that we're reaching out to all communities. So that comes through conversations and participation. And the first thing I did when I got there, we commissioned a study. We're partnering with Nielsen, and the study's in the field right now to really do a deep dive on understanding our current subscribers, but also Black and brown communities within Boston and our DMA. And not just, where do they live and how much money, and all those sort of traditional marketing things, but this is an attitudinal study. How are people feeling? What's going on? How are they feeling? Are they feeling disappointed? Why? What are the things that we need? And it's all about, we are in service. Journalism is in service to people. And so those are the kinds of conversations I've been having, and so far so good. People are really excited about it. People feel like, our intentions are good, our hearts are in the right place. And again, that taking ownership of what we've done in the past is very helpful. There's no brand braggadocious or, attitude where, we're the Globe, so, you should have a meeting with us. It's like, we want to have a conversation about how we're doing and how we're going to reconcile what we haven't done well so that we can keep moving forward. Because we do have a lot of influence in the community.
And in some cases, it's taking your lumps. In some cases, I've had to take lumps on behalf of the Globe, not for my sins, but for other folks' sins. But I do it because I want our community to trust us and to trust me to tell their stories. So if they have a grievance, I listen. If there's something that's wrong, I escalate it to someone else to say, hey, let's talk about it. I think, to Peggy's point, it's too long journalists have thought of their jobs about, as we cover the community. I'm not interested in covering the community. I'm interested in serving the community, and my job is to love the community. And if I am loving my community, the work falls in line. So I don't do it so that the community loves me back.
Right.
It's beautiful when they do. It is beautiful. When I see my young Black brothers and sisters with Boston While Black, with Queen's Company, with Beckema, with all of the beautiful Black and brown people in Boston showing me love, it fills my heart. But I don't do it for that. I don't do it for those lists. I do it because I love us, and I want us to keep growing and get better.
One question directly up front.
So I really love what you're bringing to this. You are a beacon. And I love in the last clip where you had her go within and find the little girl, and you took her through her trajectory and said, this is what the universe or whatever, this is where you're meant to be. I feel like that is your through. I mean, if you continue to do that and have people focus on their joy, because we get what we pay attention to. We get whatever we focus on grows bigger and bigger. And our community, the people that I know, tend to look at what's terrible and focus a little too long on what's terrible. And what you're doing with your work is saying, yeah, that's terrible, and we're not going to lie to ourselves, and what's happening, what's great, what's coming. And so your season 2, I can't wait. I happen to be very hyper, and I used to call myself silly, but in my growth as a human, I'm like, no, I'm just joyful. And
you
I'm
are
not
joyful and passionate.
I am passionate and joyful, and I'm owning my joy, and then I'm letting myself be joyful, and it is contagious. So this is what I'm feeling from you. Thank you.
I need you to share your beautiful resistance with Jeneé.
It's on. I'm gonna talk to you.
No, yes, that's absolutely the goal. Peggy, who I'm going to keep loving on, I was very nervous about tonight, and I was like, oh, it's my birthday. What if nobody's there? What if they hate it? And I was like, they're all at the Netflix party that Netflix invited me to in the middle of my in my screening. But Peggy said to me, you're supposed to be here. We're supposed to be on this stage together. And And, I am the person, I'm the resident joy pusher, normally telling my subjects, like, you're walking in your purpose. And even I was, like, having this moment. But she was mirroring to me, hey, look at me, look at our joy, look at our beauty. And that's what I do to my subjects. I say, hey, you're beautiful. You don't have to, some stuff you don't see on camera because I'm saying it and we cut it out so you can just hear the subject. But Jenee's been there before where I'm telling someone, like, this is who you are, you do these beautiful things, and it's really me giving people their flowers. It's really a garden in which I'm watering and giving people their flowers. Thank you so much for seeing that.
Wait, I gave it to her, sorry.
I don't have a question, but it's mainly kind of piggybacking on all of this is, thank you guys for your tremendous work. And you referenced the Summer of Soul, and there was a clip in there with the New York Times person and how she scratched out Negro, and they put it back in. She wrote Black. They no, and put Negro back in. And she stood her ground, and she was supported. And they came back and put Black in, and they never went back. So I think that ties in also with the work that you guys are doing. And you have so much power, and you're helping to shift the needle, right? And it's also part of this whole inclusion, why inclusion is so important. So important.
And that fight is still happening. The fight we saw in Summer of Soul, like, I have those fights with people in the newsroom all the time who try to change my copy, and then my editor will say, Jenee's not gonna go for that. And then, he fights back and advocates for me, and then we get the right thing done by our people. But those fights are still happening every day, which is why you need a Peggy, you need a Claudia,
Yes.
who is literally VP of people and culture. So it's like you need these beautiful Black humans in these positions of power to help get change done.
Beautiful, strong Black people, usually Black women. I mean, Black men are great also. I love my Black men, they're great. But you guys really hold us down. So I really wanted to take a moment to really shine the light on you guys and really appreciate you guys supporting each other, supporting the community, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
One right here.
Hi, Peggy Bird. Hi, Jeneé.
Hey, friend.
Hey, new friend.
Hey, how
friend.
are you? How are you?
My friends in the media business.
Yes, and I'm thinking like the executive producer that I am. Do you ever, first of all, A Beautiful Resistance is simply beautiful. Moving forward to season, 5, 6, 7, do you ever see taking the stories outside of Boston, maybe, sourcing and pushing joy across America?
So we did a mini capsule in February with Reebok, and we went to New York and told the story of Taylor Ray Almonte, who is a boxer in New York, a Black, Afro-Latino boxer. And this season, we have people who, some are from Boston but don't live in Boston anymore. And we're trying our best to get the Nat Ministry in Atlanta, but we're in conversation. I'm manifesting. But yes, we are traveling. That's part of the growth, is we are traveling across country to tell stories of Black joy across the country.
Well, I will make note of that, new friend.
Thank you, new friend.
Next question over here.
Good evening. Thank you so much for Beautiful Resistance and just the power that you exude, both of you, sitting up there, so inspirational. Just want you to know that. But I also want to know, what can we do as readers and as viewers, be it print or television media, that are watching women like you and men who are trying to tell the story? How can we support you with your particular organizations? Because I'm from Albany, New York, and I don't have a Boston Globe like you all, where you are, that have opened the door. And how can we use our individual and collective agency to move the needle?
A couple of things. One, I always tell people, click the link, share the story, email, forward it to a friend. It does matter. People think it doesn't matter. It does. Get that $1 for 6 months subscription. And in your local community, call your local journalists. And if they don't answer, because I ain't gonna lie, I don't answer because people threaten me. So I only deal with email. But email them. I answer my emails. So email your local journalist. Email the person whose story you liked, or if you have a story you want to share, email them. Every journalist is different. I actually spend a lot of time in the community. Like everyone asks, oh, how did you find all these stories? How did you find Mercy? I found Mercy at a workout class. I overheard her talking about her cute puppy. And then she followed me on Instagram, and I saw that she was in the vineyard. And I was like, do you live in the vineyard? And then she said she bought a house. And I said, this is a story that I want to tell. So I'm always meeting people and taking notes of just the things they're doing. And when I have my pocket, like I said, I had Mercy for 2 years. I wanted to do that story. And God made it possible at the right time, at the right moment for me to tell that story. So some of it is being in community with your journalist, and that's not just on you, that's on them. But invite them out, send a press release, email them, talk to them, subscribe, click the story, share it. It matters. I get a monthly email that's like, here is the people that read your story this month. And this does lead to power. It does lead to change. It does lead to, Peggy as CMO can tell you, analytical evidence of why these stories matter.
Yeah, you definitely, I would say reach out to your local even newscasters. Just talk about what you need and what you want. One of the things that we worked on together with our team this year, we produced the first African American Black History Month, I should say, film festival. We had a virtual film festival. We did all of our events virtually this year, of course. And it was like one of our highest attended film festivals. And the Globe puts on a lot of events. We did over 200 last year during COVID. We do a lot of top-notch, world-class events. And it was the first time we've done a Black History Month film festival. And people watched it from all over the country. They weren't just, living in Boston. And that's because you just do outreach. And if you have conversations with people where they are and find out what they're interested in, then you can do that. That's a wonderful thing about the World Wide Web, right? You can have a local, our thing is we have a local lens, but we're a national product. And so you can reach out to a local news outlet in your town and request the same thing. And if they say to you, well, we don't think that people will be interested, there's plenty of data. I'll send you data on how Black people consume stuff. There is reams and reams of information about how African Americans consume movies, food, automobiles. I mean, there's lots and lots of information. Just make the case and tell your story, and it'll happen. Just be patient. It'll happen. Mm-hmm.
The next question is to your left.
Like the rest here, I want to commend the both of you on your tremendous work that you've done and continue to do. In the previous one, it's almost what you're saying tells with what we watched in a previous session with Reggie in Life and Life. And a question was asked, and he kind of shocked everyone with an interesting response. He leaned forward and said to the person, what have you done about the situation? What have you done personally? And what I hear from you is that you lean forward and says, this is what I'm doing. This is the difference. And I think sometimes when the story or narrative for African American people or African dysphoria is they make it appear as if it's a sad story. And they don't look at it as a story of a people that were continually told they were less than, so that others can say they were more than, and that those with that background rose up and continued to fight against that narrative, okay? And I'm leading that into the excitement about your mirror, and I don't know if it's ready. I have a chance to research what was said, but the immediate response that I heard was that as soon as that she became mayor, the city council voted to say that they have the ultimate authority that they could remove the mayor. And so I'd just like to get your feedback in terms of, in the prems of what you shared here, a beautiful resistance, what is the response to that? And to be quite honest with you, ever since the 70s and I was a kid and saw the African-American attack with the American flag, I've had no love for Boston. So I'm glad to hear that some of the things that you're doing there, that it appears it's growing.
What is my response to exactly what?
Oh, I'm sorry. Now you make me feel bad. My wife says I'm too long-winded.
No.
Okay.
No, brother, did you see me asking those questions? I
Yes.
am long-winded. We are a long-winded people. It is okay.
Right on. What is the beautiful resistance that you're saying the demographics are more than those of European American descent, but like 25% African American? The response to the city council.
Oh, what the city council did
To the mayor.
So there's a bunch of power struggles happening. First of all, a lot of mayoral candidates are on the city council, so that there's a thing there. I have to stress this episode is not an endorsement of Jeneé. It's a recognition of what I feel is a historical, beautiful moment that needs to be marked. It needs to be celebrated. I think that a lot of things are happening in Boston as far as it being a predominantly people of color city that is a quarter of Black, and there are at least four candidates of color running for mayor. I think part of this is like a power struggle, a checks and balances struggle. Anytime we see a major shift in power, and I don't mean that as in Kim's power, I mean a city that has been steeped in a narrative of supremacy is now being revealed to be a city of people of color. There's going to be tension, and there's even going to be tension among those of us making good trouble, because that's how it is. There was tension between Malcolm and Martin. There was tension between, the different activists of the 60s, and they all were doing necessary work. So I think part of this is part of that. And ultimately, I do believe whoever takes that seat in the fall, Boston is in for good trouble and good change, and it makes me immensely proud.
In the back on the right.
Good evening. Thank you for your messaging, both of you. Coming from the beautiful city of Baltimore, we are not very familiar with your work, right? But the title of today's session was very intriguing to us, and it's panned out to be everything we thought it would be. As you consider your travels around the country and looking for other places to do your work, please consider coming to Baltimore and finding a way to talk about our truth, because there's so much in that city that's true.
Can you raise your hand?
Right here.
There you are. Okay, keep going.
There's so much truth and so much beauty in our city that goes untold. And as you talked about your travels, I think you'll find many beautiful resistance stories there.
I was born in Arlington. I'm an Alexandria, Virginia, Northern Virginia baby. DC, Maryland, VA is in my blood. And you better believe I'm coming to tell the story of Tawny Chapman, who lives over there and is showing a show in Baltimore. So I'm coming for you, baby.
Last question.
Hi, good evening. First, I want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
And I just want to say I am a Northern Virginia girl, yes.
Hey.
I live in Stafford.
You know we dance with our purse on our shoulder like this.
I live in the city of Stafford, Virginia right now, which I'm about 20 miles from Alexandria. Yeah, but anyway.
The train don't run there, but I love you.
Look, it only goes to Quantico. But anyway, I just want to say that your work, A Beautiful Resistance, has brought joy to my heart. But my question is, what is the catalyst? What gives you the drive to be the voice in Boston for Black and brown people? What's your passion? What drives you?
I think that I'm not the voice. I'm a voice. And I think the catalyst is that I want people to know there are so many other voices. I want them to know that I'm not the one of 5 Black people that should be on the list of influential Bostonians, that there's so much nuance. Our melanin is marvelous, and our story is rich and deep and layered. And the next generation in Boston, they're so hungry for change. And they are powerful and inspiring, and they are not moving backwards. And I couldn't feel more safe in their arms. We belong to each other. Like, I can't see you from here, but I am yours and you are mine. We belong to each other. And that is what drives me, is making sure that it's not about me leading the people. It's not about me being the voice of the people of a generation. It's about us not believing the lies we've been told about our worth. And that is what drives me every day, is that's. Do we have time for one more? Is that it? Are we done? Well, I don't want to say we're done. To be continued.
Thank you so much.
Share your beautiful resistance with Jeneé, the director. We would love to share. It doesn't matter where you live, your beautiful resistance will be told. So share it with Jeneé. We will post it on Instagram and on bostonglobe.com, A Beautiful Resistance. Love you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.